Everyone's favourite genre-bending, cheeky chappy Australian lads, King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard, are back with a brand new album, Flight B741, which is their first album of 2024, which, if you ask me, means they are slacking. I am, of course, joking, but this is their 26th studio album, as far as I'm aware. It's crazy how freaking productive these guys are. Like, all they do is record and play live. They can't have time for, like, wives and children and frivolous shit like that, surely. Well, every now and then I, like, notice a new single coming out or a new video, and I jump in there and I get really obsessed for, like, a little bit, and then I disappear out, and the next time I look, they've released another 6 albums. Looking at their most recent ones, I have not listened properly. Well, okay, so I listened to, oh god, I'm not even going to try and say it, Petro-Dragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the Beginning of Merciless Damnation. God damn, that's a mouthful. That one has Guillemot on it and a few other ones which I actually really liked. I like when they do heavy. But this album, Flight B741, is supposedly much more of a throwback to their kind of like, not even there, just general sort of like classic rock, kind of a bit of the 80s, a bit Queeny, that kind of stuff. Supposedly they all went out and bought like old vintage amplifiers to use for their guitars and things like that. And they did already release one single, La Risque, which was great. I really, really, really liked that track. The music video was charming. I like the little detail that supposedly whoever wrote the vocal lines at the time was the one who then recorded them, which means that we've got our first ever occurrence of the drummer singing. The one drummer, because I have got told in the comments for the previous video that it turns out they don't have 2 drummers anymore. Don't know why. I'm not gonna lie, as much as I love them and it's a weird gimmick to have the 2 drummers, it's cool visually, it did seem like a gimmick, so who knows. Anyway, enough of my waffle. Let's have a little ganders at Mirage City, their first track. Oh, bloody hell, hello. It's a suitably epic opening. But I do love the tones of those guitars. You can tell that they're like vintage sounding. And it's like genuine as well. It's got some like plug-in. I love those like slightly whimsical, slightly janky lead guitar lines they chuck in there. Ooh, that took a sudden right turn. Slow down a lot. This reminds me of like Eagles or something. There's that lovely harmonica. It's such a rich sound. Such a thick term as well. The way they layer the vocals is really, really nice. It's definitely got some more Fishing for Fishies vibes, which is great because I love that album. Aha! I have found lyrics. Excellent. Oh. God, okay, some of these lyrics are like kind of deep actually. It doesn't sound like it's kind of dark or anything, but so I follow the crow, blood on the road, and the prey of eagles chained to my throat. Aha, and I was going to speed up again like the intro. Lovely. Yeehaw! Oh man, it's such like an elation. It feels like we've really earned this, like, really positive, which is really funny because it's definitely not lyrically. He's a very talented harmonica player. I've always loved hearing that. It's one of the things that is like the only consistent thing with King Giz is that you can hear that harmonica just weaving its way through. Damn you, Stu, and your talent. That was a wonderfully, like, epic opening. There was so much going on with the layers on that. It definitely gave me some, like, Eagles vibes. He was reminiscent of Fishing for Fishies, which is, again, one of my favorite King Giz albums. I don't know, the way that the layering on the tracks, like the way that these sort of harmonica weaved in and out, and the 2 different lead guitars, I think it's 2. I'm kind of winging it here, but the way that the lead guitars kind of like wove in and out, then the vocals as well. Like obviously there's 3 different people singing again, and the way that they kind of like layered on there, you could always tell what they were saying. Okay, maybe not. Maybe you could mostly tell what they were saying, but the melody line was obvious and clear. But they had this like kind of gang vocal effect going on, which I think is just because they're all singing quite a lot of the time. Super effective. Really, really like that track. This is a good indication of how this is going to go on. Let's move on to track number 2, which is called Antarctica. See how dark the lyrics are as well. I know that King Giz have not shied away from talking quite severely about the environment and that kind of thing, so I'm prepping for some stuff like this. Funky, like that. I always they do that quite a lot. They sort of subvert your expectations. You get 40 seconds of intro, which sort of sounds like it's going to go one way, and then when you actually get the vocals, they like take a slight right turn and like change the chord sequence or something like that. It always keeps it interesting. I love that about them. They've still got that like really clever gang vocal thing going on. I think they're all singing a lot of these, and they just got like the main guys mixed up. Nice. And you get that slightly psychedelic guitar coming out there. Love that. And the piano line in the background is a nice little touch as well. It really changes the timbre. But the dichotomy of the lyrics versus this music is so funny. Oh, that's a fun like rhyme there. Fahrenheit or Celsius, tell me what your policy is. That's like That's so close to not quite working, but it does. I love that they tried that. It's great. I like that it's sort of slightly more wondery, more bluesy vibe the second half of the song has taken now. This makes me think of Frank Zappa or something, this one, actually. Oh, is that like a little organ bit there? I love the, like, syncopated nature of this. Oh, I love the tone of that organ or whatever it is. I thought I heard a little whisper of that earlier. Ooh. And then we kind of get into their like proggier roots a little bit, but it's kind of like subtly indicated in there. It's such a wash of stuff from this era. It's wonderful. And again, like they often do, they end up getting really, really hectic by the end. Well, I really enjoyed that too. That's definitely had a like more slow, slightly off-kilter vibe to it. Definitely made me think of some Frank Zappa in places. I like the trend of them continuing to pass the lyrics around. It obviously makes it, I don't know, it's the whole thing really does feel like a collective. And I've seen some like backstage footage I'm sure a lot of people have seen as well, or behind the scenes, sorry, in the studio, where it does really feel like 5 or 6 mates all standing in a little circle around the microphones, all just kind of chanting, and then whoever's like line it is, they kind of step forward a little bit more, and everyone else kind of steps back. But they're all singing all the time. It's a really nice collective feeling. It really thickens that out. I'm a big fan of gang vocals just in general, but it's done really, really well there. So I love the like addition of the piano in that track, and the organ was nice too. Harmonica still weaving in and out there. They managed to not, at least so far on the album, I know I've only done 2 tracks, it doesn't outstay its welcome yet, which is nice, because I think, you know, you can probably fall into that trap. But no, good stuff. I enjoyed the sarcastic, weird lyrics in this one are great too. I know the Aussies have often got like just a way of saying stuff that I just find appealing, like most Australian comedians and bands like that. I like the way they talk. So yeah, that's probably a little bit part and parcel, but still, that was great. Anyway, let's move on to Raw Feel, track number 3. Now that is some distortion right there. Right back in there with that harmonica again, which has got like a slightly weird rhythm. It's the drums, I can't quite get my head around what's going on. What is the time signature of this? I'm struggling. Is it in 2? I think it's in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's the only way I can quantify it. It doesn't work in 4 because it varies too much. I love the like elated vocals. It reminds me a little bit of one of the ones from La Risque. Or La Risque. It must be such a nice feeling to be in a band where everyone can sing. I've struggled with that in the past. Ooh, I love the slide there. That was delicious. Ooh. Man, those guitar tones are absolutely chef's kiss. This song is definitely the most proggy one on the album so far. Like the rhythms and the sections, it's all changing a lot. It's got quite a nice energy to it. I like it though. Ooh, got a bit of a sort of Rolling Stones-esque breakdown there with the bongos. I like this little breakdown section, this like middle 8 or whatever you want to call it. Oh, I can feel like it's a little bit of that organ maybe in the left ear or something like that. The way it's slowly building up and that bass is getting more intense. Oh, it's just really, really well done. These guys are so talented. Yeah, definitely getting a bit of Stones in this sort of like latter part. Every time you hear that harmonica, you know you're about to get a crazy instrumental break. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Probably my least favourite of them so far, which is not an insult because they've all been great. It's like the most proggy one, I would have said. Which again is like fine. It's like slightly less to my taste, which is not on them at all, really. But I still really like the way that those layers were built up and down and stuff like that. That bridge was really nice. The rhythms that were like used in that one was super complicated. Like the drummer, I wish I could remember all their names, but I don't. But the drummer is like absolutely had a field day there with like modifying the like way that where the beat lies across that. It's like 3 in 2 too, and then like a off bar or something like that. If someone in the audience can figure that one out for me and let me know in the comments, I'll be impressed. You'll be a smarter person than I. Let's move on to the next track, which is Field of Vision. Okay. Getting some more Stones out of this one straight away. I like the more staccato nature of this one. But damn, the guitar amps they found for this is so nice. This is like a proper old school classic rocky vibe, and I'm picking this one a lot. Oh, the back and forth of the vocals is lovely. They're like not afraid to be like moderately inflammatory with their lyrics too, which I respect a lot. I think this might be one of my favourite ones so far. I really like the attitude of this one. Cue guitar genius as always. Stu's voice is like so like piercing. It really works for that backing vocal. God damn, I lied to God, faith, and stage plot. This song's like really anti-religion, it feels like. What a great outro refrain. I'm being a silly Billy. Wonderful. I love it. I loved that. I don't even know how to describe it. I guess the more staccato guitar line, the way that it sort of like interacted with those drums, but it left a lot of open space, which was like really, really well filled with the vocals. The vocals were absolutely amazing for this one. I really like the way they play with the guitars. I like the way they play with each other. The lyrics are like they're so silly, but they're so silly, Billy. Hey? You gotta respect them. And I think maybe King Giz are like kind of obscure enough to some degree that they can kind of get away with saying what they like without pissing people off. I mean, and that's not to say they're obscure, because they are absolutely like at the top of their field for what it is. But you know, I think the average person who hasn't heard of them before might shy away from a band called King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard. So they just don't give a shit. So they're saying I lied to God, faith is dead, and all of this kind of stuff. We don't need no religion. God damn, they're like not pulling punches. That one was really, really good. The next one is called Hog Calling Contest. So let's see how that goes. Bit like Aretha Franklin or something going on here. Bit of Motown. I like that guitar line a lot. It's kind of a testimony to how diverse the harmonica can actually be. I like that they kind of, or a lot of the tracks on this album are like calling back to the name of the album. Like it really does feel like it's around the theme, even if I can't quite figure it out. This one's far more like hectic. Ooh, I like the way that those vocals built up there with the harmony coming up behind it. There's so much going on. Take back the Motown vibes. It's fun that it seems like pretty much this entire song is like gang vocally. Trying to woo the soul in the heat. Man, this song is literally about trying to fuck a pig. With his picture. That's nice. They say it was so much sass. Oh man, they're like pig squeals are like kind of off-putting. Oh, that's a nice little pure line on the top there. I wasn't expecting. Like everything else is like a little bit more kind of squeaky. That was very pure, nice. Well, that song was a lot of fun. It was definitely the most like hectic on there so far. It's got like some crazy, like I love the way that they interplay with the bass and the drums. They really like kept that going. The lyrics are like quite interesting. I don't know, I would say it's probably one of the less interesting ones from a vocal perspective, just in terms of how the delivery was. I think possibly just because a lot of it was kind of gang vocally, but the lyrics were fantastic. It's so like tongue-in-cheek. I like the way that it's all tying in with the album, with like references to Flight B741 and so on and so forth. I like that lots of the songs on this album are doing that. So I like that one. Probably like not as much as Field of Vision is definitely still my favorite one so far. Still great, very consistent. So the next track is Lyrisk, which we have already seen. If you haven't checked it out, I've got a reaction to the full music video on this channel. I'll try and link it in the comments. So check that one out. So we're going to skip over it for the sake of time. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 45 minutes and no one will watch it. So moving on to the next track, which is Flight B741, the titular song. Ooh, the way that piano came in there. Every time the piano introductions are fantastic. And then it syncopates as soon as it comes in. You weren't expecting that. Nice. You can't help but just shimmy about a little bit, you know? I like the more piano-led, this nice little change. The album is definitely due a like slightly more chill track. Honestly, the way the backing vocals are in is almost Queen-like. I hope people don't think that's sacrilege to say, but the way that they kind of like weave in and out, like quite a rich harmony most of the time. I think I can still hear the harmonica in the background. It's just mixed real quiet. But never listen to this album when you're flying. There's a lot of references to plane crashes. Oh, I love the way that piano like kind of creeps through the mix again every now and then. There's some like nice slide guitar going in the background too. It's a very pleasant. They're like slight canon, but the second one was like slightly out of time on purpose. Obviously, that was great. I love it when he hits those higher octaves. He's actually got a surprise, like Stu specifically, he's got a surprisingly pure voice right at the top there. That was really nice. I like that one. It was definitely a like much needed change in pace for the album. Like they had a couple of more chill ones for, earlier on, but after Hog Calling Contest, and I know we didn't listen to it, but Lyrisk, it's nice to have had that like more chill one, more piano led. I love the sort of dichotomy of the lyrics, which to be fair has been similar throughout the entire album, where like the song is quite pleasant. It's that they're using majoritively major chords. I think, I don't know, the chords are probably all really, really complicated and above my level of comprehension, but it feels like a very pleasant with the piano kind of like going there in the background. Everything's a bit more chill. The backing vocals are like vocalizing rather than singing lyrics, which is quite a nice change of pace again. And then all the lyrics are literally just about like dying in a freaking plane crash. Oh god, like genuinely do not listen to that and pay attention to the lyrics when you're on a plane, because I can feel like even the most hardened person would get the willies put up them after that. I like that the way that this album's kind of ebbing and flowing. Let's move on to track number 8, which is Sad Pilot. Okay, we've got a little more sass to it, kind of a bit more bluesy. I like the way that this rhythm is shaken out. There's a lot going on with like little bits and pieces. Is that a bit of cowbell I can hear? The Oyster Cult would be proud. I love with the backing vocals, you can really clearly tell that they've all been like recorded at the same time. There's not for like individual sessions for each person. And that's a really cool, like, maybe not Queen is not a great example, but like the way that those like the lead line is like triple line stacked with harmonies. It's really nice. And like the really high notes that I'm assuming Stu is hitting are like, they're really impressive. I've said it a couple times already, but I mean it. Oh, he's been drinking on the job. Okay. Not much thinking about the passengers I got on board. Okay. Satan's winking. That's a nice little lyric there. Nice little like guitar line there. That's this lead bit. With the like plinky piano and the organ. Ooh, that came out of nowhere. I love the subtle use of the organ as well. It's not too in your face. It's like a really nice song, you know what I mean? Like it's really delightful. Like there's some piano lines and all that. All of this stuff, the timbres they're using, the tones are all really like pleasant. And again, this song is like super depressing if you listen to it. Nice. That was like super nice. Again, I like the way that the album has flowed down to have these couple of like more chill ones into each other. It's starting to feel more like a concept album in terms of like piecing all the bits together and so on and so forth with like lyrically at least. It's like I can't get over how dark the lyrics are for like most of this album. It's kind of crazy. I really like the sort of like more subtle vibes of that one. I'm trying to find a word that isn't pretty, but the prettiness of it, like the way that organ just so slightly, like they barely registers, but it's like there in the background just after you've got a little plinky plink with the piano, and then there's some like really high like nice vocal harmonies in there. It's like a very good example of how they use their like instruments perfectly. Like there's probably what like 3 or 4 guitars, all of them sing, which obviously really helps to thicken out the timbre. Then you've got some organ, some harmonica, and some piano, and that sounds like quite a lot, and it is quite a lot obviously with bass and drums. The way that they like very subtly use the more like fringe instruments just to like kind of bring them in and out, and surprisingly enough it kind of sounds different every time, despite that them being recurring through quite a lot of this album. I don't know, it's just testimony to how well and subtly they're handling all of this stuff. Track number 9 is Rats in the Sky. It's an appealing little kind of driving drum beats. I like the energy of this one already. Oh, I get it. I've just figured out Rats in the Sky is definitely freaking pigeons, right? Really pleasing chord progression, this one. And again, that like more staccato feeling. The piano's kicking in now. I like this one. It's got a hip shakiness to it. And the guitar lines are all much more subtle and less distorted, which is nice. I really like the melody lines on this. They're like really interesting. They just don't quite go where you're expecting. They lead through lovely. I don't think I've ever heard a song from the perspective of a pigeon that's been a positive, or just at all, really. It's got that like drive to it, but it's not like too over the top. And actually, I quite like that the guitars are a bit more subtle, and actually the backing vocals aren't quite as like intense as this one. It's more sparse, but it's still got good energy. Is that a saxophone? That was definitely brass, right, or woodwind. Scooby-Doo up! Yes, give me a bit of scat. That, I think, might be my second favourite one on the album so far. I really, really like that one. It's just got, like, really pleasant vibes to it. I like that the guitar, it was just a bit less hectic, despite still having, like, an energy pickup from the last couple. Like, Rats in the Sky was definitely more up there than Sad Pilot or Flight B741 for energy levels, but there was far less, like, kind of overarching, like, shouty backing vocals, which really worked very well when they're used, but it was a nice change of pace to not have them for that one, at least. Like, the vocalists were mostly singing on their own. Just the staccato nature of it. The melody lines are really clever. They kind of, like, wonder. They almost feel like a walking bass line, you know? They just keep on going up and down, and, you know, they never quite, like, follow the rhythmic structure of the rest of it, which is really effective. It's like a counter rhythm or a counter melody, or both. Yeah, no, that was great. Also, again, lyrically, love it. I've never heard of a song about pigeons before, especially one like that. It's just, like, it's so wonderfully, like, sarcastic but earnest at the same time. It's a weird line to hit, but they absolutely managed to do it. Daily Blues, number 10. This one's a bit of an epic one. It's 7 minutes 42. So let's get stuck into the final track on this album. Cool, now we're back to everything being a bit more kind of schizophrenic. This reminds me of Blues Brothers quite a lot, actually. Sweet Home Chicago. That's a very strange harmonica line, though. I like it. Yeah, okay, this is kind of what I thought. It's the resolution of the rest of the album. Everything's come back. All those guitar lines are much more distorted and back up there again. We've got those vocals where everyone's singing at the same time. I dig it. It's a nice way to round out the album. The call and response across the entire album is super effective as well. I love it. That's a really interesting lyric. Is it fair to be born and to believe? Good question. Oh, we're going to get a break now. Okay. Oh, nice. That's quite Stonesy, if you ask me. Ooh, I like the sort of rhythmic change and everything dropping out. It's just the backing vocals there and the drums. Ooh, there was a slide there. That's a nice message. Find the person you hate and grab him by the hand, look him in the eye and say, I love you. Pretty wholesome. Yeah, it's definitely quite bluesy. It feels very improvisational almost, which it possibly is in the way that it was written at least. There's a lot of repeated refrains, but it kind of works really nice. This bit reminds me of like Crosby, Stills and Nash or something. Ooh, that bass is doing some work there, though. Ooh, look at that little bit of organ there. Ring, but you see what I mean? It's mixed really quietly still. And that's kind of The Who inspired with those way that those vocals are. Man, this song is going places. Oh, I like that. They kind of like, it's almost like the outro of well, like a long like live show where they come and like list off all the people and say thank you. Get on your horse and ride out. Great, that was a very, very, very good way to end that album. I really, really loved that. Almost overture-like nature of it was like really, really appealing. It had so many different sections. I loved the messaging behind some of those lyrics as well. It was simultaneously preaching love and telling bigots to f*** off, which is, you know, obviously a sentiment I think we can all get behind. And if you don't get behind that one, then honestly, I think you could probably f*** off too. What an album, right? That was such a great, like, love letter to that genre. Like the retro sounds, the guitar tones were wonderful. Like I said earlier, they've got like, there's like what, 3 guitars maybe, an organ, a piano, harmonica, and then like all of them singing. But they managed to have a really massive, diverse set of sounds like across that, the way that they were used and handled. I like that it was never too OTT when it comes to the keyboard stuff, because you could be in danger of overstuffing an album like that, having it too thick. And there were a couple of little moments where it started to get a bit intense, but they always felt like they knew that, and they ebbed and flowed. The ways that the album like suddenly drops down, and you get things like Sad Pilot or something like that, where it, like, you know, the whole thing was sort of minimized for just a second, just to give you a second to breathe, to really appreciate it. The lyrics across the board were fantastic. I really like the thing they're doing with all the different vocalists passing through. Like, it really gave each different verse a proper feeling of difference to it, which, to be fair, I'm sure for like lots of other reasons, because you can tell they're just so musically clever. And this being their 26th album, they're just, you get the feeling that they just know what the f they're doing, like to such a degree that like flows out of them. So like simultaneously they come across as super tight and super clever and really like musically, theoretically on the nose. But it also really does feel like it's like, you know, kind of 10 people sitting, or maybe 10 people, 6 people standing around a series of mics in a room, just kind of jamming out and singing about stuff they care about. I don't know, that was great. The vibes were fantastic. Field Division was absolutely great. I really liked Flight B741 and Sad Pilot and Ratzler. I liked it all. It was really, really good. Good job, King Giz. Somehow, some way, you are still cranking out absolutely top quality music. It's nice to know that entities like this still exist in the music industry. If you're like a passionate musician and that's all you really want to do is write and perform, they're the archetypes, man. They're the ones you want to be. Thank you very much for sticking with me on this one. It's been a bit of a long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what is your favourite song from this track, and also what your favourite King Giz album is, because there's so many to choose from. The chances are I have not heard that one yet. Like, share, subscribe, all that fantastic stuff. It helps the channel grow and is appreciated greatly by me. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.